Jamie here, May 15th, Thursday, 8:59 a.m. Talk quick about the market, some names I'm looking at go from there. S&P futures in the red this morning. S&P set to open about 0.3% to the downside after the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday rally. Nothing too surprising in my opinion. I figured there would be some chop this week. Um, we do have some catalysts, right? So this morning, retail sales data came in kind of uh, less than expectations, but not too bad, right? It wasn't like a horrible report. And then you had PPI data, which is the producer index, and that came in substantially lower than expectations. And um, that's kind of like the early stages of the inflation, right? So normally, if that's higher now, you would think that that would imply that inflation is upticking, and that was, if anything, could be further from what happened. So, the kind of just makes the case that hey, maybe inflation is going to be as crazy as everybody's making it out to be with the even the low base tariffs. I guess we'll find out soon enough. But like pretty much all the hard data that's been coming out, just been pointing to uh, the economy's not, the wheels aren't off the economy, and we're not in a recession, right? So, needless to say, also, you Fed Chair Powell speaking at 8:45. He already had prepared remarks, and it was more about like the how the Fed, how the committee and how that functions and things, as opposed to addressing the economy and things like that. And I think at the end, he pretty much said, "Hey, we're not going to talk too much about." The our what we're planning on, any updates to our whatever. So pretty much doesn't do anything for the market. So it's kind of pretty much a non-event. After the close, what Kava reports earnings, AMAT reports, so nothing crazy there. And then pending any crazy headlines, you have to think we're going to chop between 580 and 590. If we can hold those levels, then I think a move over 590 next week is certainly in the cards. I'm sure you have POTUS coming back from the Middle East. I'm sure there's going to be a press conference. It's probably not going to be today, so it'll probably be tomorrow, and announcing some other trade deal, whether it's going to be with India or hopefully with Europe at some point. That those would be other big ones, and obviously Canada and China got it. I mean, Canada and Mexico as well. So that's kind of the overall market. Not too much in the way of catalyst today. Uh, and then, I talked about that upper Bollinger Band. It was 589, got up to 589 yesterday, right at the open, and then boom, right down to 586 or 585 before the noon hour, and then bounce back. So probably just more chop, 0.58% trading range yesterday. So I wouldn't say things are back to normal just yet, but uh, getting there, getting there. It's funny still, like every morning I have the same reading routine. I read all different publications. And there's still so much negative sentiment around even the bounces. Oh, retail today, it's that retail. Wow, they did a great job timing the bottom. I'm like, you mean that all retail was bought the dip? Like I don't. In the midst of it, it seemed like there was a lot of retail who was short as heck too. So a lot of talk about, oh, it's just a relief bounce. Now people are taking profits because of the enthusiasm over the trade agreement over the weekend dissipates. And I'm like, to me, it wasn't even like the trade agreement just removes the overhang. It's not going to improve economic condition. It's not going to already build on what's already here. It just removes that uncertainty, and then this deal gets hashed out. Maybe that's the next leg of growth. So it's kind of the people who are bearish still spin it the same way. And again, I don't think we're out of the woods yet, but there's a lot of uncertainty and a lot of things that still need to be figured out. But certainly a heck of a lot better off now than we were just a week or 2 weeks ago. All right, so that's kind of overall market. Now individual names, so Walmart, the plan getting those calls on Monday was to get some premium built into earnings, be able to lock some in, cover costs, ride the rest, and just didn't get the opportunity. Even yesterday, I was close to pulling the trigger, and they were down like 20% the rest of the calls. I'm like, but my thought is that you had the gap up 102. They had that great investor day back in April, and then with the possibility of the tariffs getting removed with China, their spin might be a little more positive, because even on the investor day, it wasn't so positive. But then the earnings came out. It was a mixed bag, right? The beat EPS, missed a little bit on the revenue, still has some great guidance, but then talk about like raising prices, right? So to me, it was almost like, oh man, it's like the reverse of the investor day on at the start of April. And so the stock all the way up over $100 after the earnings came out, and then it's just melted ever since, and now it's back, just turned into the red. Going to need to get back over 100, 102 plus, just for my calls to come back to life. But unfortunately, that's what happens when you trade binary events like earnings. Um, Yeah, so we'll see how things play out. I'm still confident. Well, I wouldn't say confident, but I still think there's a chance that it can find a bid at the open. But if it doesn't, those on to the next one, right? So that's Walmart. Um, Also this morning, Bob reported earnings. It's down in the pre-market. Baidu's down at $90. One of those days I'll be back in Baidu. All right, so that's Walmart. Then some other individual names. Reddit, waiting about 2 weeks or so for this earnings smash up, right? The monster earnings, 60% growth. It's one of the best growth stories out there. And then the stock sold off. And again, I was saying this for last week. I'm like, is it some of it because people are thinking it's like going to get impacted by Google, right? It is, to me, it just didn't make sense. But then finally, it started to break out again yesterday. But it doing what Reddit always does. It gaps and runs after at the open, or runs after the open, and then gives the games back quickly. It was doing that again yesterday, all the way up to 119. Gave it back, was 114 by like 9:50 a.m. and then it reversed course. And then once it started bouncing back to the highs at the open, I said, "Wow, this is probably it, right?" So I went and got some spec calls within about 20 minutes. Was able to close them out for for 100%, and then by about lunchtime, it was nearing the 130 handle. Closed some more out for over 500%. And I just held the rest into today, only because I think you take a look, the middle of, late April high was 126, right? So it broke over that. So I think if it breaks over 126 again, it's into the mid 30s, the 130s. So on that premise, I held the rest of the 130s. And then if it does have a reversal here, it's gapping a little bit lower here in the pre-market, I might look to get some more spec lottos for that possible outcome. So that's Reddit finally paying off, thankfully. Other names, Roku, which you had, I think there was a fireside chat yesterday. Needham came out this morning, Laura Martin again, with her reiterating a buy rating on Roku, $88.50 price target. Right here at the 200-day moving average, 72.67. That's such a big area. I think once that breaks, off to the races. I'm just hoping it does it pretty soon here, because my strikes I have next week, but we know how Roku is. It'll wait till my calls expire, and then it'll have a massive run. All right, so that's Roku. Other names as well. GameStop, the most slowest 5-day rally I can recall, like the most boring rally, but up 5 sessions row. Just a matter of time before there's an announcement. It's like, come on, get this announcement on, and we can kind of get that out of the way, and then maybe the stock can have some meaningful follow through. And then other names, IBB. I mean, the biotech's back in the crapper yesterday. Yeah, I mean, you still have United Healthcare, which is down another, what, $24 here. You have a FTC investigation or what have you, or Department of Justice into UNH on Medicare fraud, or whatever. Just another nick in its armor. And it's funny how these names work when it seems like if it's one thing, it's a snowball, and then it just gets absolutely demolished, right? So if it had that news come out and the stock was back where it was $500, it'd probably be down like 2%. But it's just the negative sentiment is so bad. It's like people just fleeing the name. So to me, I was saying yesterday on the rant yesterday afternoon that if I do look for some names, Cigna and Humana might be some names. I'll look for some spec lotto calls, not UNH, because I can't trust it here. But some of these names that have kind of been pulled down with UNH might have a better possibility for some upside. So don't be surprised if I get some lottos there. And then VKTX down 4% yesterday. I was talking on the rant yesterday afternoon. Those August 65s, which I was eyeing, I'll be patient, but today might be the day. If not today, it's going to be tomorrow. And that's that. And GPCR, unfortunately, the last couple of my strikes, it was $25. Looking great last week, and then it's down like 13% this week. Then other names, of course, still looking at RH. I've done RH quite a few times over the last month or two on Friday option expiration. So don't be surprised. RHW and DEC all kind of consolidated yesterday. RH was down 4%. It's actually down back-to-back sessions after Monday's rally. That could be a nice opportunity. 235 is that gap fill, so I think that's coming at some point. And then DEC reports earnings next Thursday. I talked about this on the rant yesterday afternoon. Those, I think it's the 160s or 165s. Let me just put this up here. Those look interesting for next week, because the 160. Oh, and they added dollar strikes on DEC. Huh. Past it, they didn't have dollar strikes past 135. So there might be more playable opportunities. They added 750, 155, 155s look interesting. They added 157.50s, the 160s, even as a lotto. So get some strikes similar to what I want to do with Walmart. and hope get some premium build. They don't report earnings till Thursday after the close. That could be a trade. Is it? Or maybe it's Thursday morning. I'll have to double check that. And that's it, folks. Let's have a great day. I'll be back. Rock and roll.